The Pope issued a statement just very recently on AI. We have an upcoming day for communications being observed by the church. A lot of weird kinds of, world day of this, world day of that kind of stuff. Some of it we wonder what has to do with the gospel, but there is a scourge on social media. And one of the scourges is, at this moment, and I've talked about this at length on this channel before, the problem of AI. I have a video that I did where I just went over a few of the AI channels. But if you ever see a YouTube channel that isn't word on fire and it purports to have Bishop Barron, typically not on camera, talking about things, it's probably either stolen content or, more likely, AI generated. You can take AI, clone someone's voice, and then have it just repeat a script that you generate using other AI to do it. There are a lot of these channels out there, Bishop Barron being one of the more noteworthy ones to have this happen to them. Father Ripperger, Father Chris Solar has had this happen to them too. But there's a whole lot of channels out there whose names are things like Pope Leo Wisdom, Pope Leo Speeches, Pope Leo this, Pope Leo that. The Pope's never on camera for these things, maybe a still picture or something. And it purports to be his voice giving an address. Nobody who watches those channels, and they get tens of thousands of views every time one of them gets uploaded. No one who ever watches them bothers to check the Vatican's website to go find the text of the address. If you did that, you would find that these didn't exist, that these were fake addresses. These are Catholics who probably lost their faith, essentially trying to make a quick buck by putting up a bunch of fake AI videos. And if you were to go look in the description box or something, or there might be small text that appears on screen, it'll tell you that it's actually AI. YouTube has a requirement that you click a box to disclose that it's AI. The Vatican is aware of this problem. The Pope actually turned down a deal to have an actual AI of himself made, so that would give his own actual words of wisdom things. He, to his great credit, turned that down. I'm a believer that AI as it exists right now is just a tool, and like any tool can be used for good or bad, and clearly we're talking about bad uses. And to the Pope's credit, he turned this down because obviously that's an evil thing to do, to use AI for the way that these people are. But if you see a YouTube channel with the words Pope Leo this, or what was the other one? Faith and Theology, I think, is another one where it's got an AI voice doing video commentary, oftentimes on stories they just made up. I mean, all sorts of weird stuff out there. Then be advised, you're watching fake stuff when that happens. But this is from Catholic News Agency. Headline: Catholics must respond to AI threat to authentic human communication, Vatican says. And it's good that when it comes to Catholic social teaching, the Vatican is actually going to start taking these things seriously. The social teaching of the church on economics and other kind of secular issues where the faith and the secular world kind of meet each other are important. And this is a topic that has to be addressed. It has to be. And hopefully Pope Leo does it in a way that is in conformance with the Catholic faith. And I hate to have to qualify things that way, but after Laudato Si, you have to. Because Laudato Si was Pope Francis's encyclical on care for our common home. And it endorses tyranny, basically. Secular tyranny. Left-wing secular tyranny. That's why I qualified that with that statement. Here are the details of this, though. Pope Leo XIV has put a spotlight on the risks of artificial intelligence in his choice of theme for next year's World Day of Social Communications, as the Vatican emphasizes the important role of Catholics in media and AI literacy. The Pope's choice of theme for the 60th World Day of Social Communications, 2026, published Monday, is, quote, Preserving Human Voices and Faces. The day is celebrated every year on January 24th, the feast of St. Francis de Sales, patron saint of journalists and writers. The Vatican's explanatory note emphasizes the risks of AI, including that it can, quote, generate engaging but misleading, manipulative, and harmful information, replicate biases and stereotypes from its training data, and amplify disinformation through simulation of human voices and faces. The theme of the World Day of Social Communications was released as the Vatican's communication department is struggling to stem the tide of deepfakes, false images and videos of Pope Leo XIV saying and doing things he did not say or do. Pope Leo XIV signaled at the beginning of his pontificate that the challenge of AI would be a significant theme of his teaching. The Vatican announced on Monday urged the introduction of media and artificial intelligence literacy into educational systems to combat the risk of misinformation. As Catholics, we can and should give our contribution so that people, especially youth, acquire the capacity of critical thinking and grow in the freedom of the spirit, the document says. The Vatican message underlies that, quote, public communication requires human judgment, not just data patterns. The challenge is to ensure that humanity remains the guiding agent, it says. The future of communication must be one where machines serve as tools that connect and facilitate human lives rather than erode the human voice. End quote. 100% agree. To me, the real danger of AI is not something out of like a Terminator movie or something, Skynet and all that stuff, or the Matrix. That's not the real threat of AI, partially because the quest for actual artificial intelligence might just be a fool's errand. It might not even be possible, simply because actual intelligence of a human kind of intelligence or something more than human intelligence might only be possible with the spark of divinity, meaning done by God. I don't know how a human being is going to replicate that, but it is quite possible that we will develop, these learning machines that will make life so easy for us that the real danger isn't that we will walk ourselves into some dystopian horror science fiction movie. It's that we will be offered the opportunity to put shackles on ourselves, place ourselves into this form of slavery through convenience. Just look at the world today, and you'll see that that is, I think, a much more real threat. We face that threat, and we would do so voluntarily. We put those shackles on, make our lives easier and more comfortable by letting machines do everything. Any time we get new communications technology, it seems that one of the first things used for it is the creation of impure images and then later films or impure writings. We know this going all the way back to when human beings lived in caves for a while. We know this because that's some of the earliest artwork you'll find. We know that impure writings go back to antiquity. We know that impure plays go back to antiquity. We know that impure films were one of the first things that film technology was used for. And one of the first things AI was used for were generating fake images and films of celebrities, or in some ways even worse, giving people the ability to just take people they know's photograph and turn it into unspeakably evil kinds of films. There are some high schools right now developing policies on not doing that to your classmates. Take all the time you need to internalize how horrifying that is, that they have to come up with these policies. AI is going to make all of this a lot worse, on top of the fact that we will use it to replace human beings in the workplace and maybe open the door for real tyranny by those who would exploit this technology. I do hope that whatever document comes from the Pope on this really takes it seriously and is much more forceful than anything we've seen from the Vatican in decades on any potentially moral issue facing the culture. I'm not that confident, but we'll see. But AI is a very serious issue. You know what another serious issue is? And I'll wrap this up with this. I couldn't believe this when I saw this. Talking a lot lately about bishops opposing the administration. You remember Cardinal Cupich saying, we're going to give Senator Richard Durbin a Lifetime Achievement Award, even though he's an evil man. Well, Mike Lewis, the proprietor of Where Peter Is, posted this enlightening thought on his Facebook. Most of the bishops going against Cardinal Cupich don't have a leg to stand on. Some are Trump appointees, and virtually all opposed Francis during his pontificate. Some are completely nuts. But Cardinal Cupich didn't have to give a Lifetime Achievement Award to Senator Durbin. Now, he's saying here that some of these cardinals are Trump appointees. Again, I'll say that again. Mike Lewis is saying that some are Trump appointees. As Chris Jackson is saying, is Lewis aware that Trump doesn't appoint U.S. bishops, unlike China, who was allowed to do so by Francis and Leo? 100% correct. None of them opposing Cardinal Cupich for this Richard Durbin nonsense are Trump appointees. If you're going to write a blog called Where Peter Is, you probably should know how cardinals become cardinals. Let me know what you think of this in the comments, please. Hit like and subscribe if you haven't. It does help. Sharing this on social media helps a lot too. Cat in the chat says, go watch the movie Wall-E. That's what we are turning into with the assistance of AI. Right, and it's funny because that movie didn't even rely on AI as what would cause people to put themselves into servitude. Yes, there was an AI machine in that ship that was the villain. But those people just put themselves in a chair and watched TV all day and floated around in their little spaceship, eating artificial snack foods and sleepwalking through life. But let me know what you think of all this in the comments, please. And please pray for Mike Lewis. I'm not trying to trash him or anything. But please pray for him and pray for the church. And these, especially for the senior levels of the hierarchy who are going to be having to address all of these issues we talked about today. I'm Anthony Stine. Ave Maria.